Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Kmart, and I want to talk about some basketball. And today, we're going to be talking a little bit about the Golden State Warriors and where the team stands heading into this upcoming season. So, the Warriors have sort of been, I guess, tangentially in the news recently on both the good and the bad side of the news. In terms of the bad, the team was unable to put together a trade for Lauri Markkanen, as Markkanen signed up long term with Utah. On the more positive side of things, Steph Curry ended up being sort of the hero for the U.S. national team in basketball, helped lead them to a gold medal in Paris. So, again, I say tangentially because some of that isn't directly related to the Warriors, but it does sort of segue nicely into a conversation about where the Warriors stand heading into this season. So basically, I'm going to go over maybe some of the concerns that I'm hearing from people and why I think those concerns are maybe overblown or not super relevant, right? And we'll start with one that I'm hearing or was hearing in the wake of the sort of collapse of the Markkanen trade, that the Warriors don't have a second star to put alongside Steph Curry, right? For a lot of their dynasty run, they had Klay Thompson, they had Kevin Durant, they had a clear sort of second star in their lineup, and now some people look at what the Warriors have right now and they don't see that guy. And maybe that's true, and it is true that the Warriors did not get Markkanen via trade, but you need to take a look at what they did get, because the additions the Warriors have made are still ones that I think are going to make them a probably better team here. First and foremost, they got Buddy Hield, a career 40% three-point shooter. I understand that his three-point percentage and his scoring did slightly decline last season because he was getting fewer shot opportunities, but with Golden State potentially in that number 2 role behind Steph, I could very easily see a path for him to get back to his previous production and efficiency, which, as I mentioned, is over 40% shooting from 3. They also added, I believe in the same trade, Kyle Anderson, a guy who is not always a consistent outside shooter or offensive threat for that matter. He did have a good season last year, but the numbers across his career, he's not a prolific scorer, but he's a guy at 6'9" who can potentially switch between the 3 and the 4 if needed. He's given the teams he's played for before, pretty decent energy, defensive effort. He's able to score, as I said, not consistently, but when he needs to. So someone I think the Warriors could definitely use. And then the third guy that they added, or major guy they added in the offseason, D'Anthony Melton, should just play a pretty solid backup role here. He's averaged double figures over the last 3 seasons. He shot decently well from 3 as well. So if you're going to slot him in as your backup point guard behind Steph Curry, or maybe even your third point guard if you want to give someone like Pajemski a larger role, he is going to be, for the most part, a reliable option. So no, the Warriors did not get a second, flat out star player, but the guys that they've added look like they're going to slot pretty well in the roster and next to Steph, which brings us to that point, right? Because the Warriors still have Steph Curry. The Warriors' world revolves around Curry, and he continues to be insanely good. If you take a look at his stats for the last season, 26.4 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, 5.1 assists. He shot 45% from the field and 40.8% from 3. So, I mean, he is 36, but that doesn't seem to be having much of an effect on his production. And as we just saw on the Olympic stage, he really doesn't seem to be slowing down all that much. So, Curry is still going to be sort of the primary guy for this team, and they added pieces around him who maybe don't have the same star power as guys they've had in the past, but should still work out pretty well for them. And that leads me into the next point here. For the Warriors, they're in a good position because they are still going to be good at all the things they were good at last season, right? If you take a look at their numbers for the 23-24 campaign, Golden State was 8th in points, second in three-pointers made, fourth in three-point attempts, and seventh in three-point percentage. And with Steph still there, a lot of the roster still there, and guys like Buddy Hield added, I think it's going to be pretty simple for them to maintain those positions and to make up for the lost production of Klay Thompson. A similar thing should probably go down for them in terms of their assist count. The Warriors were fourth in the league in assists per game last season. Some of that is going away because Chris Paul is no longer there, but much like I was talking about making up for Klay's production, I think Hield, Anderson, Melton, even someone like Podziemski stepping up into a larger role could collectively match that assist count that Chris Paul is leaving behind. So they should be able to make up for lost production in terms of points, three-point shooting, and assists. Meanwhile, in terms of rebounding, there isn't any lost production to make up for. They've got pretty much everyone that they did last season, and last season they were first in the league in total rebounds. So could that have been improved upon further if they had traded for Markkanen? Yeah, probably, but they led the league. There's not much improvement left to make, and they didn't lose really any of the significant contributors to that rebounding statistic. So the guys that they brought in should fit nicely. Steph is still playing well. The Warriors are extremely likely to still have all the same strengths that they did last season. But now the reason for maybe added optimism is the fact that the Warriors seem to have a lot of confidence and a lot of trust in some of these young players. In fact, we found out after the fact, one of the biggest things that held up a trade for Lauri Markkanen for the Warriors was that they were unwilling to move Brandon Podziemski. Now, I don't know if that was the right call or not. That's not what this video is about. Don't really want to get into that at the moment, but it's indicative of just how much value the Warriors organization saw in some of these young guys. And the two guys in particular that I would sort of look at here are Podziemski and Kuminga. Those two took significant, well, for Kuminga, a step forward, for Podziemski, a good first step because it was his rookie campaign. But you take a look at what they did. Podziemski made the all-rookie team. Stats were, nothing too sort of gaudy, nothing too flashy, but as a backup guy behind Steph Curry, the numbers were impressive and good enough to make that team. Meanwhile, for Kuminga, he averaged 5 or 6 more minutes per game, got put into a larger role, and you take a look at his numbers, particularly his scoring numbers. He went from averaging somewhere in the realm of 8 or 9 points per game 2 seasons ago to last season, bumping that up to the 16 to 17 point per game range. So those guys in particular appear to be stepping up. They appear to be developing in the right direction and doing so at a rate that the Warriors seem happy with. So you combine all of that and it looks like a team that's still in a pretty solid position. Now, I will admit, is the dynasty era sort of over for the Warriors? Probably, right? I don't really see this version of the team getting back to that form where they were the dominant, terrifying force across the entirety of the league, the way that they were for the past sort of decade, really. I don't think that they're getting back there anytime soon, but that doesn't mean that they're a bottom-feeding, out of the postseason, considering tanking kind of squad. That feels like a little too much doom and gloom for my taste, based on what the Warriors have on their roster. So I see this as a team that could compete pretty clearly for a playoff spot. If they can't make the playoff outright, I could absolutely see them in that 7 to 10 range for the play-in with limited difficulties, right? Some things have to break their way, but this isn't a long shot option for them. If they continue to perform at the level that they have been and their young guys continue to develop, that's where they should expect themselves to be. In my estimation, right? I don't really know 100% what's going to happen, but that's what I think. But what do you think? Do you believe that I'm being overly optimistic for the Warriors here? Do you think that there are bigger problems that are being sort of glossed over? Where do you see this team being? Can they make the playoffs outright? Do you believe that they're going to be, in that 7 to 10 play-in range instead? Or do you think that the wheels kind of fall off here and the Warriors maybe missed the postseason entirely? That's not out of the question, especially if sort of injury concerns, rear their head for them in this upcoming campaign. But either way, please feel free to let me know what you think. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching, and I will talk to you later.